If you've been researching Portland online lately, you've probably seen some headlines talking about layoffs, businesses leaving, homelessness, crime concerns, and something people are calling the Portland doom loop. And honestly, the headlines have gotten louder recently. We've got Nike announcing layoffs, Intel restructuring and making cuts, broader tech slowdowns in general affecting the region. And when people outside of Portland see those headlines, they start immediately asking, is Portland actually declining? Is this metro area really collapsing, or is something more complicated happening underneath the surface? Because as someone who grew up here in Portland, Oregon, invests in real estate here, and works with relocation buyers moving here every single year, I can tell you that the reality is much more nuanced than the internet makes it sound. I think one of the biggest mistakes people make is talking about Portland like it's one single thing, because it's not. Downtown Portland may feel a lot different than Beaverton. And Beaverton feels a lot different than Vancouver. And Vancouver feels a lot more different than Camas. And the suburbs overall are behaving very differently than certain parts of the urban core. So in this video, I want to talk honestly about what people mean by the Portland doom loop, what's actually happening economically, and why certain headlines are real concerns, but also why I think there's still long-term opportunity in the Portland metro area. And I want to talk about why so many people are still moving here despite all of the negativity online. So if we haven't met before, my name is Stephen Tran. I'm a real estate broker and investor serving the Portland metro area and Southwest Washington. If you're thinking about moving here, please make sure to subscribe to my video because I post weekly videos about what it's really like to live in the Portland metro area, buying real estate here, and what buyers should really know before relocating. And if this video helps you at all, please go ahead and hit the like button because it really helps us reach more people researching Portland. And if you personally are thinking about moving here and you want help navigating the market, feel free to reach out to me anytime. You can call or text me at 971-285-2002, or you can email me at steven@diverserg.com. Okay, so first things first, let's define what people actually mean when they say the Portland doom loop. The basic idea is this: the businesses are leaving, less people are coming downtown, our tax revenue is dropping, our services are declining, crime and disorder are just increasing everywhere. More businesses leave, and then this cycle kind of repeats and repeats. That's the general concern that people are talking about. Some of those concerns are actually real, especially in certain parts of downtown Portland. But here's the biggest mistake that I think people make about the Portland metro area. They talk about Portland like it's one single market. And honestly, it's not. The Portland metro area is incredibly diverse depending on who you are. There are parts of downtown that absolutely struggled after COVID. But at the exact same time, many of the suburban areas around Portland continued growing aggressively. You've got entire different buyer behavior happening in places like Beaverton, Hillsborough, Ridgefield, Camas, Vancouver, and Happy Valley, compared to some parts of the urban core. A lot of relocation buyers moving here today aren't saying, I want to live downtown. Instead, they're saying, I want access to Portland, but I want suburban comfort. Another thing that I think really hurts Portland's perception nationally is that a lot of people who have never actually spent time here in Portland actually think the entire city is basically some sort of nonstop disaster zone. Like there are protests, fires, riots, chaos happening on every street corner all the time. That's just not reality. Now, to be fair, Portland absolutely had periods during 2020 and afterwards during COVID where there were actually visible protests and unrest, especially concentrated in certain areas downtown and parts of the east side. And because some of those images were extremely dramatic, they got replayed nationally over and over and over again for years. So for a lot of people outside of Oregon, their mental image of Portland basically got frozen in time among those moments. But the reality of everyday life here is very, very different from what people online sometimes imagine. I'll say this, most people living in the Portland metro area are just going to work. They're taking their kids to school, they're going hiking, they're trying restaurants, they're living extremely normal lives. Many parts of Portland Metro feel incredibly normal day to day, especially in suburban areas like Beaverton, Hillsborough, Happy Valley. I can go through all these other suburbs in the area. It's funny, a lot of my relocation buyers come to Portland for the first time and they expect to see some kind of constant chaos because what they've seen online, and then they realize, oh, this just feels like a normal metro area. And honestly, I think social media and the national media tend to amplify the most extreme images possible because extreme content gets attention. But that doesn't necessarily reflect what daily life is actually like for most people here. If Portland were truly some sort of unlivable hellscape, you wouldn't have massive suburban development. You wouldn't have new restaurants opening here. You wouldn't have people relocating here. You wouldn't have tech workers staying here. And also, our builders are continuing to build aggressively, and home buyers are continuing to move into the metro area every single year. Now again, I just want to say that doesn't mean that Portland has no problems. Every major city has challenges, and Portland absolutely has areas that need improvement. But then again, there's a huge difference between this city has challenges and this entire region is collapsing. I think a lot of the national perception of Portland became disconnected from the actual day-to-day reality of living here. Okay, let's talk about the layoffs and tech concerns because those headlines are actually real. Nike recently announced layoffs impacting roughly 1,400 employees. And also one of our other major employers, Intel, has gone through restructuring and cuts throughout the years. And you've also seen broader slowdowns across tech and corporate America. Now, when people nationally see those headlines, they immediately assume the region is collapsing. But honestly, I think you just need to take a step back, zoom out, because that's not what's happening in Portland. Because what's happening here is not unique to Portland. This has happened across a lot of tech-oriented markets after massive expansion during the pandemic years. During those years, companies hired aggressively, tech exploded, real estate prices exploded, and now many of those companies are becoming efficient and cost-conscious again and pulling back. Honestly, I think what we're seeing is more of a reset than a collapse. A few years ago, the market was kind of honestly insane. People were waiving every single contingency imaginable. Buyers were competing against 15 to 20 offers. Homes were selling immediately. Companies were expanding aggressively. And now things are just normalizing. You've got more cautious buyers, more negotiation opportunities, the companies are restructuring, and you have a market that's becoming a little bit more balanced. That's not necessarily a bad thing long term. Now here's something that's really interesting happening that I think a lot of people outside the tech world are not paying attention to. Despite all the Intel layoffs and restructuring over the past few years, there's also a massive long-term opportunity around semiconductors, AI infrastructure, and domestic chip manufacturing. And recently, there's been major news around Apple exploring partnerships with Intel for US-based chip manufacturing. This is a really big deal for the long-term outlook of Intel and American semiconductor manufacturing, because the global demand for chips and AI infrastructure is exploding right now. You have tons of AI growth, you have cloud computing, you have autonomous systems, you have advanced computing demands, and data centers. And companies are desperately trying to secure semiconductor manufacturing capacity. So while people are focusing on the layoffs that are happening today, there's also a very long-term conversation happening around domestic chip manufacturing, AI infrastructure, advanced engineering, and high-tech investment in the United States. And Portland, and especially the Hillsborough area, has historically been heavily connected to the semiconductor manufacturing and engineering talent. So honestly, I think there's a very real possibility that this region benefits long-term from the shift towards domestic manufacturing and AI-related growth. Another thing that people tend to underestimate is how attractive this region is for remote workers, especially compared to other West Coast metros. Because if you compare Portland metro pricing to places like Seattle or San Francisco or San Diego or Los Angeles, buyers still can often get significantly more house for the money here. And this is one of the reasons Southwest Washington continues growing aggressively, especially Vancouver, Washington, because remote workers love the combination of suburban living, no state income tax in Washington, being relatively close to Portland, and also lower home prices. I've had a lot of relocation buyers specifically choose Vancouver because they can lower their tax burden, they get to have much larger homes, they maintain West Coast lifestyle, and they still get to stay connected to a major metro area with Portland being right there. For remote workers, that combination is extremely attractive. Another thing I think people online massively underestimate is how strong Portland's small business and restaurant culture still is. Honestly, this region still has one of the best food scenes in the country. You still got food carts, you have farm-to-table restaurants, we have an incredible coffee culture, tons of breweries, we have lots of immigrant-owned businesses, and also a lot of creative entrepreneurs. We have amazing neighborhoods like Alberta, Mississippi, Selwood, Division, Hawthorne, and they have tons of character and activity. One of the big things I love about Portland is that the small business culture is deeply embedded into the identity of the city. People here genuinely support local businesses, and even in the suburbs now, you're seeing new restaurants pop up, coffee shops expanding, boutique fitness concepts, local gyms, and also specialty food concepts, and a lot of community-oriented businesses continuing to grow. And one of the biggest disconnects online is that people only focus on downtown Portland while ignoring how aggressively the suburbs are still growing. You've got massive master plan communities continuing to expand in places like Reed's Crossing in Hillsborough, Happy Valley, Ridgefield, Washington, North Bethany, the Camas, Washington area, and also Vancouver. Builders are still building aggressively and people are still moving here. Schools are growing, infrastructure is expanding, restaurants are still opening. Many relocation buyers moving here are shocked by how much suburban growth is still happening throughout the region. Another thing people miss is that buyers honestly have more opportunity today than they did during those frenzy years. Just a few years ago, a lot of my buyers had absolutely no leverage. People were waiving inspections, people were waiving appraisals, they were offering insane escalation clauses. Now, my buyers have more negotiation power, more inventory, more time to think, and also, a really nice thing that I like is more builder incentives. This is one of the reasons I think serious buyers are actually finding better opportunities right now than during those peak frenzy years. This is especially true with new construction. Builders still need to move their inventory. So now you're seeing incentives again like closing cost credits, rate buy downs, you can get appliance packages, landscaping, and design center credits. And I've personally helped buyers secure rates below market through builder incentives just recently. And that was much harder during the peak market frenzy. When we have periods of negative sentiment, that's often where opportunities start to appear. Now, I'm not saying that every property is automatically a good deal right now, but historically, markets move in cycles. You get expansion, you get correction, you get stabilization, and then you get some growth again. And honestly, I think Portland right now is just much more in an adjustment and stabilization phase than some kind of irreversible collapse. Now, I just want to warn you and be realistic that not every area is performing equally, and that you as a buyer should absolutely pay attention to the different market trends, crime concerns, schools, the long-term demand of the area, the infrastructure, and also you gotta look at the local economic growth because location matters more than ever. Buyers who really understand the metro area are gonna make better long-term decisions than buyers who simply are reacting to the headlines. From my perspective working with buyers every day, honestly, I think this is one of the more interesting times to buy in the Portland metro area because buyers have more leverage, you'll have more options, you have more time to evaluate, and also you have less pressure to panic buy compared to years ago. And that's why I still think that this region offers something a lot of people want. You want a West Coast lifestyle, you want access to nature, you want some strong suburbs, also you want some good food. And one of the big things is having better affordability compared to your other major West Coast metros. And I will just say, this is where having the right agent matters. Because my job isn't just about helping buyers find houses, it's about helping them understand which areas are growing, which areas are changing, where long-term opportunities exist, and how to make a smart decision in a shifting market. Because the Portland metro area is not just one single market. Every city and even every single neighborhood behaves differently. Okay, so I'm curious, what's your perception of Portland right now? Do you think the city's declining, or do you think it's evolving and changing? Please let me know in the comments below. And if you're thinking about moving to the Portland metro area, that's something that I help people with every single year. You can access me directly by calling or text me at 971-285-2002, or you can email me at steven@diverserg.com. Also, if you found this video helpful, please make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share this with someone researching Portland. And if you want a full breakdown of the pros and cons of living in Portland, I'm gonna put this video right here on screen. Go watch that next. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.